yes, we teach chiropractic all over the world.
From the Bozeburg. That's pretty good.
Well, I believe the Bozeburg is known in more places than almost any other city. For a size, only 3,400 people. But when you mentioned the name of Bozeburg, in fact, one time a fellow was coming here and he said, I don't know, I have it made. When I get off the airplane and walk over to the limousine counter and say, I want to go to 209 Richland Avenue to Bozeburg, and the man says, oh, you want to go to Dr. Pearson's.
And that's how you know when you've arrived. We're going to look at some things that chiropractic is doing. And I think I'm fair to say that of the healing arts, chiropractic is the youngest. That it started about
90 years ago, September 18th was our 90th birthday.
A guy named Palmer.
Yes, D.D. Palmer and his son B.J. is one of the golf chiropractors.
Who figured out that if the spine were aligned like nature meant it to be, it would fix a lot of problems.
Well, there's actually an inborn intelligence in the body that we call innate intelligence. And if this is set free, you can heal just about anything.
That's the basis.
That's the basis of the entire thing. Every cell in the body has to have a nerve supply. And if that nerve supply is cut off completely, of course, there's death. And if it's diminished, there's sickness.
Oh, okay. That's the basis.
That's the basis.
Now, John is also an inventor of major proportions. And this is his, and it measures.
Yes, it picks up infrared radiation given off from the body and records it on paper similar to a cardiac.
And this is what the thing that does the damage.
Yeah, that's the infrared sensor, and we do not touch the body with this. It actually picks up radiation from the body and records it on the paper for permanent gravity. And then this is kept in the record, and from looking at these readings, you can tell if your adjustments are being effective.
So what happens is it measures heat. And when you're measuring heat, say, measuring my spine, the hot spots are the spots that need.
No, it's the cold spots.
Oh, is it?
Yes. It's cold spots because that means there's a lack of blood supply there, and the blood supply is controlled by the nervous system. So actually, what we want is the straighter the reading, the better. You should have a uniform temperature of the body from the sacrum to the occiput. That's from the very bottom of the spine here, right up to the head. Should be within 1 degree from top to bottom.
Okay. Now we're going to look at some things here in a minute. Doc always carries his spine with him. I mean, doesn't everybody? But I want to look at, while we're talking inventions, your X-ray machine intrigues me because I've never seen an X-ray machine like it. I have a picture of that. It actually measures. It's an X-ray machine, but it X-rays with motion.
Yes, this was developed by Continental X-Ray Company out of Chicago 2 years ago for the purpose of our We Care Chiropractic Clinic and Research Center in Bozeburg. Now, this machine is actually taken from the old fluoroscopy, but the unique thing about it is that it uses very little radiation. We use about 1/80th of the radiation that you would normally use on an X-ray.
Really?
And this is run by a motor, and we can actually start this down at the bottom of the spine and work right up to the head. And then we can have the patient go through motion, and this tells us exactly which vertebra is locked.
We have some videos.
Now
This
here,
is that X-ray machine in action.
we're looking at the person's pelvis right here, and now the machine is going to glide up the patient's spine, and I'll be able to make a study of each individual vertebra. And then when we get into the neck area, which is by far the most important area of the spine because it's the most easy to injure. I see we have our X-ray backwards here. You see a patient's heart's beating over here on the right side. But we're going up her spine right up to the head. And now the nice thing about the machine is it automatically calibrates to that particular person, and you'll see it go lighter or darker depending on the thickness of the patient.
You mean automatic exposure?
Yes, it's what we call an automatic brightness control.
Okay, just let that roll. sequence on the video that'll show that event going on.
Now, this is the cervical spine. To your right is the patient's mouth, and we're looking at her spine as it goes down. Now, there's a normal range of motion that spine should go through.
The neck.
Yes. Now, we have set up a system that we can tell exactly which vertebra is locked. On that particular patient, the top vertebra is locked. And this is what's so important in chiropractic, to make sure that you adjust the proper vertebra. This business of being manipulated 3 and 4 times a week, that's taboo in modern chiropractic. That's more like massage. That isn't chiropractic at all. As we're looking at this spine, now we're going to go down and look at the dorsals, and we'll move on down into the lumbar spine. Now, that young lady is being radiated with only 1 milliamp second, which is almost unbelievable. On a normal x-ray machine, we would be using 40 to 80 milliamp seconds for that exposure.
That's very important because part of what you do really is keep records. A lot of x-rays and keep records.
I would say that we probably have the greatest collection of pre and post x-rays showing corrections of anywhere in the world at the research center in Pittsburgh.
We're going to look at those and look at some actual cases, particularly whiplash. I guess that's where, your chiropractic expertise has been world renowned.
Well, this is what really put the Pittsburgh on the map when we found out how to reverse the cervical curve. And this, have problems with the cervical spine because it is not, does not have as many bony locks as the vertebra down in the back. This is the primary cause of problems. When your neck is injured, this is by far the greatest problem area. The other area of problem is the pelvis. Now, back in 1959, we developed a new way of correcting the pelvis. And in 63 is when we invented the instrument to show us just how chiropractic was not working the way we were told it should work. And that's what went on to make us develop all these new methods. And then it was in 1979 where we found the system of reversing the cervical curve. A cervical curve is something that needs to be corrected. And if your neck is actually going the opposite way, you can have so many problems, it's almost unbelievable. Some of the cases we're going to show you are people that have been sick for 7 to 15 years, and they were corrected in a matter of days with this new type of chiropractic.
We'll do that next one starting today. Stay with us. My guest this morning is Dr. Pierce, well known in all throughout the world in chiropractic circles and in Gravosburg, where his clinic and research center is. And he has with him, what was the guy's name in Shakespeare? Somebody, I knew him well. Iago or somebody. He's got Iago with him. Or who is it? Come on, Pence. Iago's okay. Whiplash.
Well, what we've done with our type of chiropractic, Don, is we tried to figure out what is the normal spine. There are definitely normals and abnormals. There's definite times to adjust and times not to adjust. And that old rack-em, crack-em chiropractic of going in 3 times a week until you turn green is just not the type of chiropractic of today. That's 1912 chiropractic. What we're talking about here is a 21st century chiropractic. Now, from front to back, the spine should be perfectly straight. But then when you look at it from the side, it should have 4 curves. It should have a lateral cervical curve. It should have a posterior dorsal curve. The lumbar curve should go forward, and then the sacrum curve should go backward. And those are the things that we figured out normals with. And we done that with the use of this ruler that we call the normal AccuArc, potential normal ruler. But this measures the cervical curves. And in 1979, is on a patient that I had been having complete difficulty with, we decided there had to be a better way. And this is when we decided to figure out exactly what the normal cervical curve is. Now, the curve in your neck should curve forward. at a curve approximately like this, which we will call a 17 centimeter plus, which means if we completed this arc of this circle, it would have a radius of 17 centimeters.
I see. Okay, yeah.
Now, as we go up and that spine starts going to what we call the military neck, this is a 500, which if we completed this circle, it would have a radius of 500 centimeters. Then the spine will start reversing. And it actually can reverse to a point where it goes down to a minus 17 or a total reversal. This would be a minus 17, and this would be the perfect plus 17.
Now, in a whiplash, the x-rays that I've seen in whiplash, the neck vertebrae are straight.
Yeah, well, that's just when it's in a military neck. But actually, as a whiplash continues, it will actually reverse and go what we call kyphotic.
Ah, okay. Now, to show you that, Dr. Frank has got some x-rays up on an x-ray stand. Now, let's see. Let me see if I can tell what's happening here. We're looking at a side view of a neck.
Yes, now that is a normal cervical curve.
But that's where
and
your
the curve
17
is curving to the front. That is what we call the 17 plus. Now that second vertebra where you see 0 white horn, that's the axis vertebra, and that vertebra should set parallel with the floor. And the vertebra above that is the atlas. It should have an angle of 18 to 24. Now this is a person who we corrected. Now this patient had been sick for 7 years. She had been in a lot of automobile accidents, and the next x-ray will show you that her neck was totally reversed. Now this is the same patient, and you can see that her cervical spine is totally reversed. She is actually a 17 minus. She has gone from a 17 plus. Now that correction was made with 1 chiropractic adjustment. It took me exactly 7 days to get her 7 years of misery completely gone. And that sort of disappointed me because she was probably one of the most beautiful patients I've ever had.
You want to see her come back a lot.
Well, she sent her husband in. And the first thing I said to him is, your taste is better than your wife's. But when you get results like that, then the patients don't mind coming back.
Well, but then before you develop this standard of curvature, what did chiropractors do?
Well, it was hit and miss, really. I mean, you know, we're only 90 years old, and it takes a while to get to the top of the ladder. And so when chiropractic first started, it was a matter of finding vertebra with your fingers. They called that palpation. But the funny thing, chiropractic and x-ray was developed the very same year, 1895.
Huh.
So I think it was about 1910 when chiropractors started using x-ray, and then in 1924 is when the first instrumentation came into chiropractic. And it's just a matter of building blocks, and one man discovers this, and the next man keeps discovering, and I've been lucky enough to be one of the men that was blessed with been able to add a lot to chiropractic. The secret is to get the patient well as fast as possible.
Yeah. Let's look at some more x-rays, because this to me is new and dramatic. Now, what I know a little bit you've taught me so far, Doc, I know that this patient neck is wrong. I mean, it's straight.
Okay, now this is a typical case of a patient going to a chiropractor that was practicing 1912 system. This woman was adjusted twice a week for 7 years.
Ooh.
And of course, this chiropractor had a very pleasing personality, and she liked him very much. When she showed up in this office, I told her that we was going to correct that neck and put it back to the 17.
Okay,
and I gave her one of our adjustments, and she went home, and she was so tired that she couldn't work for an entire week.
Tired?
Yeah, she was very, very tired, and she felt very sleepy. And she took this as a bad result. And she told her mother, I'm never going to go back to see that chiropractor again. But 2 months later, when she was feeling so wonderful,
I knew that'd be happy-ending.
Her 2 children got sick. And guess who she brought them to? Yeah. She brought them to me. And I said, while you're here, let us take an x-ray of your spine. And we did, and you can see that that curve is completely restored. And that was done with one chiropractic adjustment versus 7 years of chiropractic manipulations.
That's dramatic, Doc.
Well, there's a big difference between adjustments and manipulation. And when a person's just getting their spine manipulated, that's guesswork, especially when people lay down on the bed and they just twist their neck from left to right, and then they lay you over and twist your back from left to right. Vertebrae don't go left and right. They either go left or right, or they go forward or backward. But there's no way that a vertebra can go left and right, or front and back. It either has to go one way or the other. So when a man is laying your spine down and just twisting it without any rhyme or reason, this is not chiropractic, and this is why chiropractic has a bad name in many circles, because of this type of thing.
You probably run into controversy.
Yes, I do. I'm probably one of the most controversial people in chiropractic. You either love me or you hate me.
Okay. Speaking of love, let's love to look at some more vertebrae here so we can see if we're learning anything.
Well,
oh, wait a minute. This is the opposite way.
This is a reverse curve again. The patient's back is completely reversed. That's a -46. And this patient was injured in April of 1984. And she went to a hospital, and they said there was nothing wrong with that neck. And the reason they said that is because there's no fractures or no pathologies, but there's a subluxation there. Now, this woman worked around medicine for 18 months and got no better. She came to us in September of '85, September 3rd, in fact, and we took an x-ray of her.
Okay. All right, now let's
That'll be our next one. That x-ray you can see has even got a little worse over the 18 months. It's down to a -29. Now, the insurance company said they was going to refuse to pay for this.
Okay.
And I said, well, I'm going to correct this, and then we'll see.
Okay.
And this is what happens a lot of time. They don't want to pay us because they've already spent so much. We gave her one adjustment, and 27 days later, this is the x-ray that we have. This was September 30th, exactly 27 days later. She's only 2 centimeters away from having a perfect curve. But this is what scientific chiropractic is all about. Now, everybody isn't always as lucky as these people. Now, as these vertebrae get out of line, they start getting arthritis in between the joints. And this arthritis will keep moving down the spine and up the spine until they get locked. Now, these people take a little longer, but they also can get a lot of relief under chiropractic. But the secret, again, is a patient should be read, they should be x-rayed, and if a chiropractor can't show pre- and post changes, then he's not practicing the type of chiropractic we're talking about.
And with your minimum amount of radiation x-ray, you can do that and not expose your patients to an inordinate amount of Röntgens.
Now, what we find with that x-ray is the subluxation. Now, the subluxation means the vertebra that's out of line will actually move. Very seldom do we have to go back and adjust the same vertebra. We keep moving our adjustments as the vertebra change. And the instrument helps us that way, along with the visualizer. When the instrument shows that they have another problem, then we can take another look with the x-ray machine.
Let's look at this, Doc. Well, we've got just a few minutes. Let me see what we're seeing here. Because
this shows an older patient. This man is 62 years old. And you can see that the spine actually has a curve to it there. Those two lines should be one line, and the line should be straight up the center. So he has a curve that way, and then if we drop down, you can see the normal x-ray after this man's spine was corrected. His spine is now straight. If they keep moving the camera down, you'll see that the entire spine is straightened out. Now there's the same lateral view. That shows that the man's not on the line. If they keep moving down, we'll show you how the patient's spine has changed.
Wait just a minute. Come just a minute, Dick, till he changes. Yeah, okay, there you go.
Okay, now this is the post-lateral. You can see that not only did we straighten it from front to back, we also put the normal curve back into the neck.
Ah. So by fixing the spine, the neck reassumed a normal curve?
Absolutely.
I bet he's a pretty happy fella.
Yes, he is. He had shoulder problems, and his problems have completely corrected.
Fascinating. There's more to this in little time. Let's take a break, and we'll come back with Dr. Pierce after this pause. Proof is in the pudding. When you put it in print, Doc, they can look at you and examine you for a long time. And a few years ago, about 1981, Doc put out this book called Results, which really, if I were going into the chiropractic business, I would want this because it tells exactly how you started your business and how all of the equipment that you've seen this morning works. And how many of these are around?
The first edition, we had 3,000 of them that was sold. But we did not do that. We have to do a revised edition, because our systems are changing so fast that I never put this book out second time. Okay. We have a revised edition coming out next month, and we already have a couple hundred of those sold.
What, just for fun, in the next 6 months, where will you be lecturing in your seminars? In
my next 6 months, next week I'll be in Kansas City, Missouri. Then I go from there to Honolulu, from there to Tokyo, Davenport, Iowa. I do state conventions all over the place. I have a state convention down in South Carolina, and I'm on the extension faculty at the Palmer Chiropractic College and many of the colleges throughout the country. I have a full schedule.
When do you get back to Dravosburg, Doc?
During the week.
All right. Before we leave this morning, I don't know what Doc knows about this or not, but we have a thing called Crime Solvers on this program each Wednesday, and we're going to show you one of those right now.
This week's Beaver County Crime Solvers case, in cooperation with New Brighton Police Department, is seeking information leading to the arrest of the person responsible for the desecration of graves. Circumstances of the crime are as follows. Sometime prior to November 27, 1985, an unknown person entered the graves of the St. Joseph Cemetery and forcibly entered a mausoleum. The suspect pried open locks on the door to gain entry to the family crypt. Once inside the vault, the suspect proceeded to open coffins and disturb the remains. Extensive damage to the family memorial resulted from this incident. All leads in this case have been exhausted, and Crime Solvers need your help. Any information leading to the arrest of the person or person responsible for this crime will result in a reward of $1,000 being paid to the caller. The caller may remain anonymous if he or she desires. If you have any information, call Crime Solvers at 774-2000. Lesser rewards are also being paid for information on other crimes. If you have any information on any crime, call Crime Solvers at 774-2000.
Minute. Why, before we leave, we want to give credit where credit is due. Thank you, Dr. Frank Zolka, for helping with the x-rays this morning. Will you come back, Doc?
Oh, I'd be happy to come back. It's chiropractic is such an intriguing thing, and we never even got to the pelvis to show how we also figured out that.
That's a very interesting part of the anatomy anyway, so we'll have Doc back. Thank you very much, Dr. Pierce. Nice to have you here.
I really enjoyed it, Don. Thank you very much.
I got this neck, Doc. Maybe I'll sneak out there. That's starting today for this stanza. We'll see you Friday with some very good news from Penn State University McKeesport campus. Be with us.